Hi, so I'm Jay Steinbacher, and I mainly write short speculative fiction at this, short speculative fiction at this point, although I'm starting work on a novel. A lot of my work explores questions of consent, relationships, gender, and also the body. So I'm going to start off with a flash piece called Fox Lover, and this is not published. And then one day I wake, and she is gone. Her yukata, one of mine, fraying at the edges of the sleeves, lies empty like the pod of a pagoda tree in winter. The mattress beside me is cold. Instead of rising from bed to build the fire and brush my hair, I crawl on hands and knees. I trace the path I think she would have taken, but find no prints. She has been careful not to disturb our dwelling on her way out. I want sooty tracks, the mark of claws on the rice paper screen, fine hairs, anything to suggest she once laid beside me. There's only my stomach gnawing itself, the fine mist that settles in my hair when I draw water from the stream, my stupor as I boil it for rice. Yui came to me 3 winters ago, a lost traveler, drawn to the smoke of my disgraced woman's hut. She scratched at the door then, a sound I barely heard over the chattering of my own teeth. I had been cast out that fall after failing to bear children and requesting a divorce, left with short days to gather wood and long nights of losing feeling in my toes. I thought she was the rattle of the wind come to kill me, but not that night. I took her in and she fed me from a satchel, her last scraps. Aren't they supposed to have nothing and take everything? But I had no food. What I did have was a fire and a body that could be warmed with the right kind of touch. We woke the next morning beneath my blankets and broke the rime of frost on the bucket together. She held my hand, and though her nails pressed my flesh, they didn't break the skin. We built a home together that first spring. Yui would disappear, though she had no money, no kin, she said, and returned with rushes, then string for weaving, an ox-drawn cart of split wood, clay tile. She never asked, but I spoke of my husband sparingly, sometimes to say, he would have known how to level a beam, sometimes to say, he never made me feel this way. When the house was finished, modest, hardly a house, but no longer a hut, it was late summer. Sometimes villagers would pass by at a distance to spy and gossip. They would think I had taken a noble lover who provided for me. Once, someone tossed a burning bundle in through the door while we slept. Yui awoke instantly, chasing it out with the broom and stomping the flames into ashes. I made her sit to check her feet for marks, but the bottoms were softer than mine. That first fall, she came and went. I must attend to some things, she would say. I grew jealous and cut my long hair, which she loved so much. When she came back for the winter, she clucked her tongue and gave me a jade pin I could not wear. Did I always know she would leave me? I tell myself I foresaw it in the amber-green flash of her eyes in firelight. I foresaw it in the traveling shoes she repaired often and the garden we planted in our second spring. It was in the palm of her hand as she cupped my sex and stoked in me the taste of freedom. The gloom outside is a mask worn by a defeated winter. Birdsong rises from the branches. It is beautiful, and it hurts to hear because it means she is not out there watching. I can only love one so long, she told me when we lay together. I fought tears. She was never gentle when I cried. You'll leave me then, I asked. Yes. Will I know? She turned onto her side, breasts shifting as she rested her head in her hand. Will you try to keep me? I bit my lip to keep a lie in. She smiled and touched my face, then shook her head. When the mist burns off, I go outside for my morning exercises. I find a silk pouch stuffed with gold, freshly left. My clothes are turning to rags. The pantry is near empty. My human needs cannot be satisfied by love alone. I stow the money and finish my stretches. Sweat gathers on my forehead as the day warms. I will go to the shrine and seek a path. The high notes of a warbler drop abruptly. The air stretches, then, empty, but full at the same time of her parting gaze. I'm also going to read from the opening of another unpublished piece So this is a long short story, and it's near future cyberpunk. It sort of explores some questions about consent, sex work, digital addiction, and being a teenager in the 2050s. So this story is called Head Girl, and this is just the opening. A scarlet push ad jiggles in my periffs as I trudge through the school entry portal. It obscures the sea of plaid uniforms with a girl's white face. Companion app streams down the right side of my vision. Before it can fade, I let my gaze linger so it full screens across my vision, and then flick my chin to a side to shelve it with all the other shit I've compulsively eye-clicked. Do you need a companion, Min? An accented woman's voice purrs into my ears as I walk to my locker. Living lovers in your headspace, 24/7. This ad must have slipped through the sacred firewall. I've only seen ads for head tutor services or daily prayer apps, things I can't afford or would never buy. As I stuff my sweater away, the resting screen mimics rapid eye blinks, and a succession of beautiful boys, girls, MBs, and other genders turn to look at me in quarter-second vid clips. My girl Luz was talking about this, I realize. Digital sex slavery. Rather than pay professional sex workers or download AI, rich nerds have started walling off other human beings in their pleasure centers. I shiver and slam my locker closed. I'm ready to dump the ad when the selection of companions slides into full screen. Some look 12, despite claims that they're all legal. Some early 20s, with a range of features, skin tones, and hair and eye combinations to appeal to any client. Resting the edge of my gaze on the scroll bar, I watch their faces slide by, superimposed on the girls in the hall. I can't stop myself. I'm going to download it, but just for the free trial. I'm not going to make anyone my head slave. I skip the NBs and the Chinese-descended companions. I've never been into people who look like me, and pause at a black girl who isn't exactly smiling. Her dark eyes are narrowed, lips twisted in a haughty expression. I wonder if we'd have anything in common. Her hair looks a little unreal, probably a wig, and the contrast on the photo has been messed with to brighten her skin to a medium shade like mine, and hide the hollows in her cheeks. Beneath the photo is a name, Valia. I select her with a closed eyes blink on the image. Application pending verification. First bell rings. I'll do the rest when I get off school grounds. Luz sidles up to me after class. You want to come over? She asks, a hand at my waist as we pass into the hall. She's wearing under the radar lip gloss, nothing that will catch the sisters' eyes, but I notice. I bite my lip. I've been mouth-breathing at the thought of downloading the CC package, but now I want to bury a hand in her thick, curly hair. I've got to get groceries after dinner with Jan, I lie. After? Luz shrugs, popping the top buttons of her uniform shirt to reveal a worn t-shirt underneath with the PR flag on it. The fabric clings to her. I guess I'll go to Red Bean, the usual after-school hangout. I squeeze her waist and we pass out the main school doors and cross the green. Fucking fancy, nothing like the last school I got kicked out of. I walk Luz to the coffee shop on the way to Main Street Station, nodding to Joe, the bouncer droid. The sky above is gray and a damp breeze cuts through my uniform sweater. Luz is about to head inside when I snag the strap of her backpack and pull her in for a kiss. More where that came from. I bump her nose with mine. Me and Jan live outside Glordale Village. The village itself is too expensive, even with the money from Mom's new husband. So after the train, it's another 15 minutes walk to the apartment, past a dingy sex shop on the corner I always find amusing, with dildos wired to apps and other sensation aids for the not fully wired. An upgrade wear repair shop. That cow with a briny fried smell that invades my pores. Beyond that, a Chinese grocery spawns a herd of pawing lucky cats across your vision if you stare. Then I'm in our institutional gray box, the single-bedroom mine, since Jan's usually at work for the agricultural sector 12 hours a day. He won't be home for a while. I should run my shrink-sanctioned meditation app, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet Valia. My body tingles and my fingers twitch as I settle into my chair in the cramped living room that serves as Jan's bedroom and close my eyes, dropping inward. I'm only running a couple of apps right now, the messenger service I use to chat with Luz, a music stream and the school feed. I dump them, head strangely empty. In my newest diverted email account, there's a message from Companion Corp with a link for verification. It takes me to a back page of CC's website with a download package. There's a code in my email. My headwear runs its own scan. and then the CC package scans my wear to make sure I won't glitch out. It's an extra precaution for legit downloads after one too many wear implants were fried and lawsuits filed. Once it greenlights me, I'm washed briefly in that 2 seconds too slow, drunk-eye glaze of stupid, heavy software. I release a long-held breath. Then my head scrambles like I've leapt forward in time, and I full-body shiver. My top front teeth are numb. I tongue them and use eye movement to skim past an agreement. My code pulls up a welcome screen. Leaving everything in factory settings, I skip to the prompt box at the bottom. Log in. My pulse rocks my chest. The image of Valia from the ad hovers above the text. I imagine her hair as it might look naturally in a cloud around her head, curly and airy, different from Luz's thick, heavy ringlets. I sign in. My head fills with static, not just the sound of it, but the feel of it. I'm worried it's glitched me, but the resting screen, dark red with the Companion Corps logo, fills my vision. It loads an image of Valia reclining awkwardly in a maroon and orange robe. The outline of her body is hazy, but her arms, as they emerge from the sleeves, are twig-thin. Something in my body shifts, a gravity-inertia feel like the train braking hard. There's a sensation in my head of movement, purposeful activity, like air brushing my skin when Luz moves next to me in the dark. I'm not alone. So thank you all for coming. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments or anything. Yes?
I do. Of course I have questions. I want to talk about cultural appropriation.
Sure.
Because the protagonist of the first story is a Japanese woman, and then the second story is a Chinese woman or
She's
girl.
Chinese-Canadian.
Chinese-Canadian. So how do you, decide that it's okay for me to do that, and all that? Is that something you learn at MFA school?
It's funny. I was kind of joking about how there's going to be kind of a theme to these pieces in which both of the protagonists are not white, and really, I think I'm not trying to tell the stories of people of color as they experience being people of color in the world, but at the same time, in Head Girl, the fact that Min is not white and that she is speaking to another woman who's not white. Min is non-binary, but she's speaking to Valia, who's not white. And, there are definitely moments in the story where the color of Min's skin comes up, because especially when she goes to look in a mirror at a certain point and Valia is looking through her eyes and is like, oh, I forgot, you're Canadian, right? And, it's this moment where she's like, yeah, I'm not from China. I have a grandmother in China, but so there's a certain amount of research that I think is definitely a requirement. But I can't say that there's any one way to decide when is this okay and when is it not okay. I took Nisi Shaw and Kate Tempest Bradford's writing inclusive fiction class online.
Oh, awesome.
And even then, it's like one person. I've had several friends read this, and some of them could probably fill the role of sensitivity reader because they are either women of color or non-binary people of color, but it's still like one person reading it and saying, oh, I really enjoyed this story or I identified with something in this story does not give it the stamp of approval. So, there might be someone who is like, why are you writing this? And that's something that, sure, I'm like, is it okay that I'm a white person who's doing this? Because I don't want to make any pretensions there. Like I'm not mixed race. Well, everybody has, who knows in the far distant past, but yeah, I'm a white person writing this. So, so there's really no clear yes, no, black and white answer there. And I think it's just do your research, listen to what people are saying. And if somebody had come to me with a really clear concern, I think at one point someone said, oh, I would feel this character more strongly if there were a moment where, they had to reckon with their skin color or with their, and so there is a moment later in the story where, again, she's looking at a reflection in glass, and Valia is like, oh, right, you're Canadian, but you're not white, and she's like, yeah. But so those moments were very much informed by readers who, helped with that, and I think that research is absolutely something that you have to do if you're a person who's, you know, a white person who's writing people of color. So yeah, it's something that I'm like, you know, I don't know where the line is, but also this is a story set in 2050, and so I'm seeing, you know, like her girlfriend Luz is half Guatemalan, half Puerto Rican. Min's mother is French Canadian. Her father is Chinese American, actually, who moved to Canada because I'm envisioning, unfortunately, you know, following the sort of state of things in America that, you know, if he would have been, you know, maybe my age or a little bit older this time now and deciding, hey, fuck it, I'm going to Canada. But so yeah, she comes from a really mixed background, and there's a little more explored in the story actually, because her older brother Jan, who, you know, they have the same genes, but her parents were able to do some gene selection. So Jan actually looks like a Caucasian man with like a long, very blonde hair, because when he was born, her parents were like, you know, we're really worried about all of the bigotry that he might face. So we're going to make sure he comes out, you know, we're going to select as many genes as possible to make him look like his French-Canadian mother. But at the point that they had Min, they were like, oh, you know, things have gotten a little bit better, and maybe she'll actually come out looking a little more exotic. And so they kind of let her come out natural, as she puts it. And, you know, she's like, oh, well, here I am. I look just like my father and my grandmother. So it's a complicated, but it's also just this vision of a society where it was like, I just don't think, you know, there will still be white people probably in 2050 if we haven't, you know, destroyed everything by then. But there will probably also be so many different mixed race people that I really wanted to represent people in this story who had a lot of different mixed backgrounds. And so, yeah, that was a really long-winded answer, but that is definitely something that I'm like, am I doing it right? You know, and there is no one right way, but there are definitely wrong ways. So it's something that it's a minefield. Anybody else have any questions or comments on that?
I don't have a question about that particular. I love the protagonist of Fox Lover. She's someone who feels like her life extends beyond the margins of the page. Can you talk at all about the process of characterization in that story? Like, why did you come to her, and how did you go about writing her?
So, earlier, you know, I'm a member of the Codex Forum, which is an online forum that writers can get into after they've published professionally or been in a professional workshop. And so I actually wrote this story based on a prompt from Weekend Warrior, and I don't remember what the prompt was, but I think, you know, I think it was actually something about loss or about change, and I just pictured this woman whose lover has gone, and, you know, what is her next step? And for me personally, I write about a lot of relationships, so it's a very personal thing to think about, like, okay, you know, your life doesn't end when the relationship ends. You know, there's still something that can come afterwards, and so I wanted, you know, to show someone who was really reliant upon a relationship, and to show a relationship that, you know, it bloomed, but it sort of it ran its course, and then it came to an end, and it's over, but her life isn't over, so she has a place that she can go from there. But I think a lot of it just came out of, you know, I read the prompt, and I just had this really strong sense of this person when I was reading that and thinking about it.
All right,
well, thank you all for coming. Yeah, thank you so much.